Hey guys, welcome to the Wild Bit Show. I'm Meghna,
And I am Upamanyu.
and we have got a great show planned for you. We are obviously going to be talking about our headline topic, and you might be wondering why it's called gluttony at its peak. It's because a study has found that the mega consumers of food and energy cost the environment $5.7 trillion. And we're going to talk about who these mega consumers are. In addition to that, we're going to be talking about how, in some parts of the world, uh, the appetite for shrimp is destroying mangroves. But at the same time, there is another study, a new study, which is giving hope that globally mangroves can bounce back from deforestation. So we're going to see how that's possible. What else do we have on the roster?
Um, we have some sea related stories and sort of river related stories where mangroves are. There's one story which is about mangroves and deforestation, which again is one of those stories that we, one of those types of stories that we follow, um, regularly. There's a story about the imminent sort of destruction and that can be caused by the rising sea levels where a Nigerian city is disappearing beneath the waves. There is also a new kind of training that is or new kind of approach that is being taken with wild foxes in Australia for them to sort of avoid turtle nests. There is another story which was quite interesting, about the Trump administration, um, which has reversed the ocean monitoring system decision, scrapping the ocean monitoring system decisions. Yeah, those are the main ones we will be talking about. And as always, if we have the time, we'll talk about new shark species, and other smaller stories.
Okay, talking about our headline topic. Um, it says mega consumers of food and energy cost the environment $5.7 trillion a year, study finds. A new study reveals the world's highest consuming 10% inflict a staggering $5.7 trillion in annual environmental damage, described as bonkers by researchers. This sum, larger than most national economies except the US and China, highlights a critical imbalance where economic priorities undermine Earth's vital systems. These mega consumers are predominantly in the global north, representing over half of the US population and significant portions of the EU population. The main culprits are food, especially red meat, linked to deforestation, and energy use, including flights and fossil fuel dependent heating and cooling. Oxford and Leiden University researchers calculated this damage by assessing climate disruption, biodiversity loss, pollution, and freshwater depletion. Annually, an average top 10% individual causes $2,300 to $7,500 in damage, soaring to $19,000 to $63,000 for US individuals. And this is something I think we've spoken about before as well, where like these rich people, they would take a flight to just get like a dessert in another continent,
Mm.
and they would not care about what they're spending their money on, and they would want the most exotic meats and the most exotic food and the most exotic travel ways. So there has to be some way that this can be taxed, fined, or there is something that these 10% can balance with the 90% who are not contributing so much to the damage to the environment. And a discussion question is also this. It says, should mega consumers be taxed or fined or penalized for their consumption habits? What do you think? Oops.
I think definitely yes, and that is the sort of socialist agenda that we as a society are going towards, like the rise of the socialist, uh, democratic socialist, basically. So that's in that system, in that worldview. I think the mega consumers definitely has to be taxed, but taxed extra. I feel like, but whether a government, whether any government in the world or any politician sort of in the world is um,
Ready to do
wants
that
to
is a good.
ready to
Yeah.
do that is the real question. And in terms of the what I had in mind in terms of a solution, especially when we talk about the um exceptionally high private usage of um, stuff, it's the same question about like for us, for normal people, it's the question about using a public transport versus using our own vehicle. For the extreme mega rich, it's the question is about using a public, airplane versus a private airplane. So um basically it's that, why don't we use the public transport uh, often as we could? There could be, hundreds of reasons, and they would have their reasons for not using a public transport, as in the airplane, the public airplane. So yeah, I the, I am thinking of a solution where, or I want a solution where everybody is encouraged to use, the public alternative in terms, in each of these sectors that sort of Meghna has mentioned. So um, that is one area of that, um, you know climate, sort of the consumption habits. And then the red meat consumption and deforestation, that is something that is in our own hands. I i do not know. I mean, it is in our own hands to a certain extent, because obviously there would be a lobby, right? The meat lobby, which will try to,
I
if
think
the yeah.
See, oops, I think it's going to be the same reason for everything. Like you're saying, obviously, politicians and the government would not tax them heavily because businessmen and politicians kind of go hand in hand, like they help
Hmm.
each other out. So
Hmm.
that is one of the case. And the second is obviously again with red meat and other things. It might be something where it's a great business. Like for New Zealand, dairy and beef are the main income. Uh, Components. So that is also there. But I think at what point of time would you prioritize the environment over the people? That is the question. Because here, the consumption of these people has to be taxed or has to be curbed in some way, because you cannot just be rich and then flaunt that richness and use it to exploit the environment and get away with it, because the rest of the people are um, bearing the brunt of it. You remember you saw that one meme where it says that me here drinking from a soggy paper straw to save the planet.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, the billionaires and the governments are like, oh, let's just shoot each other. Like, oh, this entire US Iran war and the amount of energy and the amount of money, and here I'm like drinking from one soggy straw. So
Hmm.
the burden shouldn't come on like the lower classes, which it always does. It has to be like an
Which,
equal burden across.
hmm. Unfortunately, that's the truth. And this is one of those things, I think, like in terms of the taxation and in terms of deterring these high net worth individuals from exploiting the environment, exploiting everything, including the environment. I think the only uh, way to do it is with a strong sort of political agenda, strong um, sort of socialist political agenda. Um, that's
Yeah,
that's the only way. I
I
don't
think
think
that.
we as individuals have the choice of, in a democratic system. We as individuals, as I always say, have the choice of electing such people. So that is our message to you know people
Yeah, but
in
electing
listening
such
around the
people,
world.
you should have the options, right? Like usually, the kind of options you have to actually elect someone to the top seat in any government, are usually really mediocre. I mean, they say which is the bigger, uh, I don't know, for better
Choosing
usage
the
or what.
lesser evil,
Oh
basically.
yeah, I mean, I was going to say that like smaller shit, bigger shit, but I don't know if I would be flagged for that. But that is what they say basically. Like, which one do you want? Like, because both of them aren't great choices. So,
Mm,
which is the better choice? And all of the politicians across the world are corrupt. They are hand in hand with all of the rich businessmen, and I mean, it's not just one country. Everywhere, everyone, everywhere just cares about money, and
mm,
when it's all about money, then obviously the people who have the money are going to be your best friends, not the people who don't have the money.
right. True. True. Um, so that is the only power we have, to elect certain, democratic socialist people. And I think the thing is, the politicians that are rising up as the socialist form of democracy, and so on and so forth, those politicians are also focusing on the human rights issues right now. So it is, I think, a long journey till they come to the environment side of things. So right now, we've just started with a cohort of democratic socialists. Like they were always there, but now it's more prominent with the social media, and the reach increasing and all these things. Um, and yeah, right now they're only focused on the human rights issues, and the living crisis, the housing crisis, and all these different human rights and human problems. So I think to expect anything in the near term, I think would be pretty very very. You have to be very very optimistic in that case. So I don't know. I'm a little pessimistic about this issue, just because nothing is in our hands. Definitely the meat consumption, yes, we can reduce that. Um, Energy use, I think heating and cooling, we can reduce that on an individual level. But if then the billionaires, the high net worth individuals come in and just do double of what we saved, then again,
I
that
mean,
nullifies it.
basically at this point of time, you're saying we don't really have a solution, right?
I I don't see one immediately. No.
Yeah, because it just is. It's basically like the study has found that they're causing environmental damage. But even if the study wasn't there, we knew that. I mean, obviously, if someone's eating, uh, you know, is destroying 100 acres of land and someone is destroying 1 acre of land, and we do know that the person destroying 100 acres of land has more environmental impact. And this is something we knew, but obviously, study is now supporting and telling us this information
And the
that.
study has also put this dollar value, which I believe, everyone globally, you know, any,
Yeah.
whatever their background, would understand more clearly this dollar value. Um,
Yeah, see, I absolutely understand and appreciate the fact that people who are really rich, they really worked hard to get to that level. So I appreciate that fact, but it still doesn't give you the authority to plunder the environment and go haywire and not care about the impact. that you're having. You can still have a simple lifestyle, even, I mean, someone like Warren Buffett, right? Like, I mean, so much money, but still very, very
I
simple.
mean, then again, it can often it's all appearances. It's very difficult to explain. I don't think there is one billionaire who has, you know, contributed any more or less to sort of the environment than the other. So I don't think there is there are any good billionaires as I would want to put it out there. Um,
Probably.
it
But
is
I guess time will tell what will happen. Like if they are going to be penalized, if they're going to be taxed. But I think again, all of these are something that will happen in the future when climate change and environment and
the
everything
billionaire
takes
solution to the problem of Earth degrading is
is to go
let's
to
just leave
Mars.
the yes, let's
Yeah.
just leave them these people here and we'll escape because if if it is a life and death situation on in here on Earth, and by that time we have somehow managed to establish a colony in Mars, who will be the first people to go? They will be the billionaires.
Yes,
Do you
but
think
tell me
you
this.
and me will get the tickets to that
No,
rockets?
no, but if they have plundered the Earth and then they're going to go to another planet, which is Mars, what are the chances that they won't plunder Mars the same way? Because their
Yeah,
lifestyle
but
is not going to change, right? It's not like, oh, I'm in Mars, so now I have to be very careful of my eating habits, I have to be very careful of my spending habits. That's not how it's going to go. They want to like probably build like ultra luxurious domes and ultra luxurious everything there as well.
probably they will get another 500 years. So that is also a problem I think we have discussed with human beings. We only can think about our lifetime and maybe our children's lifetime. So two generations, that's all we have the foresight for. After that, I don't think we have the foresight or capability. We don't have that capability to sort of think beyond that. Even if we think beyond that, we don't have the capability to say, oh, something will happen 2 generations from now, so I should do it, you know?
Also, it's really weird, but while growing up, we thought that there would be flying cars by now. There are no flying cars, but there are plans of flying to Mars, like which makes zero sense. I mean, I would have thought one would have come before the other, but yeah. I mean, I guess on this topic we can probably keep talking, but there is absolutely no solution. There's obviously some anger. There is some hopelessness in knowing that there's nothing we can do about it, and just probably like an appeal that
Mm,
if you can, then try to think about the environment more.
I think so. I think so. This
Yeah.
dollar value, the study putting a dollar value really helps, and to sort of contextualize and empathize with the whole situation even more, I think, than usual. And also this gap, I think that I believe there is a wave that is coming with the rise, slow and steady rise of democratic socialism. But we as individuals, as I said, I'll just repeat, we have the power of reducing our meat consumption, reducing our sort of carbon footprint. Again, carbon footprint, not the correct word, but yeah, just reducing our impact on the environment. And then also choosing or voting to office people who sort of carry these uh, sort of ideologies as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So what do we have next to us?
Cool. Again, we are starting to see the impacts of such damage that we are causing to the environment. And this is again a story that says the sea took everything away. How Nigeria's happy city is disappearing beneath the waves. Aitoro, Nigeria, a historic coastal settlement once known as the Happy City and a Christian utopia found in the 1940s, is rapidly disappearing beneath the waves due to um, severe coastal erosion. For more than half of the community, including countless homes, businesses, and churches, has been irrevocably lost to the encroaching Atlantic Ocean. This devastating environmental crisis is leaving its remaining residents in dire straits, running out of options as properties and outdoor spaces vanish. The article features the tragedy story of Arovo Victoria, a 60-year-old retired midwife. In 2019, the sea swept away her small shop, built with borrowed money after retirement, leaving her burdened with mounting debts for a livelihood that no longer exists. The continuous erosion represents a profound loss for Aotearo's heritage and its people. So it is clear that this is caused, this has to be caused by um, climate change. That is the one of the main factors here, and also the the impact that we are having on the environment is the cause of this kind of devastation. So I'll just share my screen and just let's look at the photos that is on this article. So the coastal changes rapidly has been worsening in Aotearoa, um, Nigeria. So look at this. Look at the level of damage that nature is able to cause. We always seem to underestimate that fact, and look i- in these areas, it is some severe damage that is being caused by this erosion and oh, you know the erosion there. So it is a community of humans. It is a community of hardworking individuals, again, not high net worth individuals or billionaires or trillionaires or whatever. Uh, so there
Yeah.
is an uproar from them, which is normal.
But
But
I think the thing is, oops, the next big thing is going to be climate refugees, as we all
Mhm,
know. It's not going to be war refugees. It's not going to be anything else. And climate refugees also sadly will come from all these low-lying areas that can be taken away by the sea. So that is the sad part, because these areas will be affected the most, and not just places like, I mean, this is still like a mainland area, like it's in Nigeria, which is a part of
mhm,
the whole African continent. But think about all those tiny islands, like Kiribati and Cook Islands and Solomon and all those, and Maldives. Like they're literally just islands on the sea, like just small islands. So they're going to be first devoured when the sea levels rise, and that's going to be really hard. And I mean, even with war refugees, countries are not okay with taking refugees in. So imagine with climate refugees, what the situation's going to be.
yes, and there are quite a few major cities around the world, including the entirety of, you know, Auckland. We have Mumbai in India. There are Miami in the US, and all these other Jakarta, um, Tokyo, all these other major global powers. They are very coastal cities. Um, so there is a huge chance that these cities are similarly impacted um,
Oh,
by this
definitely,
climate change.
definitely. And it's so sad to hear about this one story of the 60-year-old person that you're saying, where she
Mm,
kept all her money in the shop,
in the
and the
shop,
shop, and the shop's gone. So now everything's gone. So maybe there has to be like a better way to plan, even in terms of, if there is a lot of coastal erosion that's happening. So how much further away from the coast should you have like any kind of shops or homes or anything? So I think it has to go more inwards now. So anything that is on the coast should automatically probably be brought down, and everything needs to go more inside, so that more people don't face the same kind of um, tragic problems that she is facing.
yeah. So looking at these images, also, you can see the amount of devastation, and I think in some way or the other, this can be this type of devastation, and this event can be linked to us, definitely. but also the high net worth people and the billionaires that we discussed in the last story, that are doing the lion's share of the consumption, right? So these two stories are very closely linked, I feel. And the discussion question we have here is, again, we don't have the answer, very concrete answer, but the discussion question is, you know, is this the future, and when will we listen to the warnings? As Meghna keeps asking every episode, I think it is high time.
Yeah, and sadly, again, if there was some billionaire's yacht and billionaire's house at this particular spot where the erosion has happened, then there would have been like very strict measures being taken. There would have probably been like some kind of barriers. There would have been a lot of things that would have been moving. But because it's like poor people who have their, entire life savings in those little shops and their houses, they're the ones that are being affected. So we don't talk much about it. We don't do anything about it. But climate change and global warming is real, and it doesn't mean that it's only getting hotter. It's also getting colder in some areas. The sea levels are rising. Everything's going haywire. Like you would have realized this year with the El Nino and the talks that are happening, especially if you've heard of Europe's heat wave. Like 44 degrees in France is crazy.
Man.
Like that's almost like Delhi's temperature, and people here are used to it. People there are not used to it. So like they're not able to cope up with that kind of temperature there. So climate change is very, very real.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the politicians would like to tell otherwise. So, please make your own judgment call. I think we are, don't believe us. Do your own research. And these images and these um, you know accounts, they are not fake, and people are not making these things up. So definitely the impacts are very, very real. They're, across the world, agencies, climate agencies, and environmental agencies publish annual reports. Um, your country might be doing one too, and you should go and read some of those reports and see what the official speak is. And there are countless researchers. We try to bring forth and bring forward some researchers, um, and we'll try to do that in the future as well, to talk about these kinds of issues. But I think it is very much real, and it is coming whether we like it or not, if we don't take um, major steps.
Yeah, and I think it's time that we stop fighting and come together, because climate refugees is the real thing. It's not anything else. We don't need to
Mhm.
create more war refugees. We don't need to have more border disputes, land disputes, other disputes. We need to come together as a species, because there is nothing else we can do than actually bond together and find solutions. If we are still going to be divided, then nature doesn't wait for anyone, as we saw, and as we can see, like nature doesn't care. Nature doesn't care that there are 8 billion of us. Nature doesn't care that we are suffering. It doesn't. It has its typhoons and its other what do you say, tsunamis and everything else will keep getting stronger, and that is nature's fury. And that is way, and the only way we can control is by doing something where we can please nature and say that we're sorry, and we're stepping back, and you let us live.
Yeah, and I think if there is no backup plan in Mars, nature is not going to see whether you're a billionaire or not. It's going to impact
True.
you. You can probably hold off, hold it off for a longer period than us, normal people, or you know, common people. But yeah, it won't spare you just because you are a billionaire.
Absolutely. Yep. And the fact that we saw that with COVID as well. It doesn't spare you, no matter how
Mhm.
rich you are. So it's the same thing with everything else with nature. Um, yep. Talking about nature and our consumption habits. The next topic that we have is actually um, it's actually a combination of kind of two topics, but it talks about how the world's voracious appetite for shrimp is destroying Ecuador's mangroves. And in connection with that, we actually have a positive story on mangroves. But we first do the sad stories. So the positive one comes later. So Ecuador's burgeoning shrimp industry, now the country's top export, is devastating its vital mangrove forests and threatening the livelihoods of traditional shellfish gatherers. As global demand from China, the US, and Europe soars, shrimp farms are rapidly expanding, clearing mangroves to construct ponds. This deforestation eliminates the habitat for species like black-shelled cockles, directly impacting gatherers such as Johanna Carolina Cruz Portes, who have seen their catches decline and incomes shrink. The unchecked expansion also brings significant pollution, further degrading these critical ecosystems. Regulatory oversight is severely lacking, exemplified by Esmeraldas, where 200 shrimp farms are overseen by just one inspector without transport. The voracious global appetite for shrimp is thus driving widespread environmental destruction and socioeconomic hardship in Ecuador's coastal regions. And our discussion question for this is, with rampant growth and weak oversight, who pays for our cheap shrimp? Should we as a society actually take stock of our seafood eating habits? Now, if people know, when shrimp is caught from the sea, like your shrimp and prawns are caught from the sea, there is a crazy amount of bycatch. So, like for every 1 kilo of shrimp that is caught, there's a 9 kilo of bycatch, which could be other fish, which could be turtles, which could be sharks. And what they essentially do with all the dead fish that they gather and these dead animals that they gather, they just put the dead bodies back into the ocean. And it was never sustainable to fish shrimp because of the bycatch that goes in. So they started expanding into farms in the mainland. But with the farms now, people think, oh yeah, I'm having it from a farm, so it's sustainable because there is no bycatch. But even with the farms, if the demand is going to be that crazy and you're going to bite into the mangroves area, then it's not great that way either. Like there has to be some kind of check on what kind of food we eat and what kind of environmental impact it does have.
Hmm. I will just share my screen from the article. So this is sort of the landscape, a snapshot of the farms, and as you can see, it is eating into the the river system and the freshwater system as well. Now, this photo is titled where it says Esmeraldas has about 200 shrimp farms and one aquaculture inspector who has no transport. So that just goes to show that how careless or how unaffected we are by this particular issue. So basically, the one person who can or who has the authority to make sure these farms are following some regulation and standards, that person has no transport, so that means that person is not able to um, go and inspect these farms and might be dependent on these farms to provide him transport or her transport, uh, you know in order to go and make these inspections. Now, this is a profit driven industry like any other, so if left unchecked, the people who are running these farms would definitely prioritize profit over anything else. So, I mean, that goes without saying. It doesn't even surprise me right now. There might be one or two farmers who are like thinking about it, but they will just get swallowed by everyone else who is not thinking about these kinds of things. So, look at the landscape. Look at all the different farms. There are the 200 farms in this small area. Um, so it is bound to eat into or destroy the surrounding ecosystems and habitats.
Absolutely. And the thing is that even though it has such big impact, I mean, especially on the locals, it's sad to see that the government doesn't care for its own locals who have, who are into the shellfish gathering, and still would only keep one inspector, and be and justify it that yeah, there's one inspector, so everything's in control, the person is looking at everything. But no, I mean, one, you've not provided any transport to the person. Secondly, there are so many what would you say, unsupervised shrimp farms, and the shrimp farms are growing, and your locals are suffering. So there has to be something you do, at least more, maybe inspectors, maybe lesser licenses or lesser areas that can be made into shrimp farms. But as a country, you need to care about your locals than your export. Export is not the only thing that runs your country.
And I'm sharing another photograph from here where this is sort of the image of uh, after the farming season is done. So look at the devastation it has caused and the razing of land. So we think about this, you know, um, I think in a way where we sort of in our mind we can say, okay, this is water, this is not land, so this might not be causing that much damage. But even the fish, again, as we say, that humans that we have increased in such a number, that is the problem. So it's the same with fish. Like more fish and more shrimp, again, shrimp is not fish, but more of these things concentrated in a small area would mean that the waste they produce is high. uh, all kinds of byproducts they produce is very high. So that means that the ecosystem in that particular region or in that particular neighborhood is disbalanced, and that would mean that that ecosystem is slowly and steadily sort of drawn to the ground. So this shows the yellowish foam that can be seen around shrimp ponds during the disposal of wastewater on Isla, Costa Rica. So not
Yeah,
only does the wastewater from factories become toxic, my point is the wastewater from such farms is also toxic. You know,
that is true.
that is the paradigm shift in thinking that we have to make. Okay, factories
Yeah.
are toxic because of chemicals, but this is also toxic.
Yeah, it actually says in the article, it says a 2023 study found that mangrove systems around shrimp farms in Esmeraldas had about 2.5 times as much ammonium and phosphorus as ordinary mangrove water, which means that more than half of this farm waste is released into the environment, even though it should not be released, and it should not be released untreated. But it is being released, and this organic matter that is released, this untreated it could have like feces and fertilizers and other kind of nutrients that are being released. So this could also cause like a dieback of the mangroves, because this is not
Yeah,
normal for
it
them
is.
to have. Yeah.
And
And it actually shows, there's another photo. Oops, if you can scroll down a little, there's, you can actually see the foam in the canal.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, actually, you can sort of see that barren land that is being left behind, because once this project is done or the farming is done, uh, because you have taken so much from this particular environment ecosystem, there's nothing left there, and only manual addition of fertilizers and nutrients can restore this ecosystem back. That is the situation of a barren land and a former shrimp farm. And look at the foam. This is sort of the foam that wastewater creates from these farms. So you can say, okay, we are farming something natural. So how can there be waste? But it is not natural to have these animals and crustaceans in such high density in such a small space. And since you have them in such a small space, you'll probably need to add more food because the ecosystem can't provide that food. You need to add fertilizers, you need to add some pesticides or any kind of chemicals. You'll need to add them in order to make sure that the water the balance of that water, the pH of the water, and all these different things. People who keep aquariums would know this, but you'd have to make sure of all these different things, and that
Absolutely.
makes the
And
water
also,
toxic.
hmm And also the fact that mangroves in themselves are very very important. So they act as the barriers from the sea tides, and they are home to a lot of animals, and they have their roots in, so they keep the mud also marshy and soft, and there's like a lot of benefits to having mangroves. So if you destroy one of the ecosystems, it's actually going to cause more harm, because if you're going to take the mangroves out, all of these shrimp farms that are just adjoining, whenever the sea level rises, then all these farms will be destroyed. And this has happened in other places where tsunamis have occurred, or there have been like floods. It has caused major devastation to these shrimp farms. So if they're going to be just happy thinking that if we're going to cut down the mangroves, nothing's going to happen. That's not how it works in the environment.
Yeah, no, yeah, that would be a complete, you know, you'd have to be completely mad to think that that's how it works. But sadly, that is the story that politicians would like for you to believe. So yeah, I think through our show we try to raise that awareness, but also you yourself can sort of read these types of research and stay updated. If not, then definitely listen to our show, and we'll try to point these out as much as possible. So factories are bad, but so are these large scale farming operations.
Yeah, and I think honestly, obviously, it's not the best thing, because even plants and fruits and vegetables also have probably like a lot of pesticides and other issues. But the kind of environmental impact that you could have to switch to a more plant-based diet as opposed to an animal-based diet, a meat-based diet, or a seafood-based diet, that makes a big difference. Also, from where you source. So, like if you know where you're sourcing from and the environmental impact it has, that could also make a big change, because there are people who like have their own little farm and have chickens, and then they eat the eggs. It's very different to contributing to the abuse or the space of a farm that goes outside. So just be very careful of what you're consuming and how you're consuming and the kind of impact it has. It's easier said than done, I agree, but when you're neck deep into environmental crisis, you really want to see something positive, and the positive is only going to come with our changes.
Completely.
Talking about positives, oops, you want to do the positive part of the story?
Yeah, I can, or you can just continue with that as well, I think.
Okay. So the positive part of this story is another article. It's from Mongabe. It says, "Can globally essential mangroves bounce back from deforestation? New study gives hope." Global mangrove forests, critical for coastal protection and vital fisheries, are unexpectedly recovering after decades of severe decline, a new Tulane University study reveals. Analyzing satellite imagery from 1984 to 2023, scientists found that around 2010, around 2010, these crucial ecosystems began a global resurgence. This recovery is largely driven by mangroves expanding into new habitats, nearly offsetting previous losses and resulting in only a 1% cumulative global decline since the 1980s. However, recovery is uneven. Southeast Asia has reduced mangrove loss, while West and Central Africa experienced accelerated deforestation. The high resolution study also notes improved forest health. Dense, closed canopy mangroves, crucial for carbon capture and shoreline stability, increased from 50 to 58% by 2023. And I think this is the great part, that this is a long story, a long study. So from 1984 to 2023 to actually analyze that satellite imagery, that gives you hopes that mangroves can bounce back. But at the same time, it does say that mangroves are bounced back by expanding into new habitats. So they need to have that new habitat to be able to expand into, right?
Mm. I think it's worth seeing some images. You just saw the images of dying mangrove area and marshy land, but it's worth seeing some images of the a healthy mangrove. Look at that, such beautiful, you know, spaces. Not beautiful to us, but also it's such healthy environment or a healthy ecosystem for the flora and fauna that is that call this place the home. Um, you know, look at this. You know, there can be that sustenance. This is a mangrove ecosystem in Zanzibar, in Tanzania. You know, then there is the this is the this was this part was cleared, the mangrove part, but recently it was replanted. This is in Brazil. Um, so uh, when you give the spaces, give these in ecosystem the space, it has the resilience to bounce back, as we have all seen multiple times. We have discussed this on our show as well. So this is a flamingo in a mangrove, greater in Inaua in the Bahamas. So these are all the coastal areas. So this is the Vanu, Vanua Levu Island in Fiji. That is, new sprouts are seen here. Um, this again is in Raja Ampat in Indonesia. Um, this this mangrove is in again Zanzibar, Tanzania, and the last one here in Kenya. So all these are healthy examples of healthy mangroves ecosystems. This is what we want. We don't want that foamy thing. Now that can be only impacted by our demand, because as long as there's demand, that will continue. Maybe there will be some reforms in terms of like maybe more inspection and more, um, you know, some rules and regulations which might slightly improve the situation, but it's never going to go away. And if we want it, away, the only way we can is speak with our demand.
Yeah, and the fact is, like, people don't appreciate mangroves enough, but mangroves are, like trees that can survive in low tide and high tide. So, like the water comes in and they have their roots in such a way that, they have the roots planted like right deep in, and you can see it right above the water as well. So when it's high tide also they can breathe, and when it's low tide also they can breathe. So,
The
and
aerial
because of their
roots,
root
the
system.
famous.
Yes, exactly. And because, they have that system of the roots and they're so thick and dense, that is why the coastal erosion can be stopped. Because, imagine that amount of water having to pass through those amount of roots. So if you cut down those roots, then the water can just go inland, which is why mangroves are really essential. And also because of the roots, they provide like a home to a lot of species. And, like how we saw in the other ones, there are cockles and the crabs and the different. Sometimes in some areas there are like, in Mexico, I believe there are like even alligators and crocodiles. They're home to all of these places. So mangroves are absolutely essential. But, even though the study gives you a lot of hope, the point is that we need to still give space to mangroves to expand. So if you're going to cut down on that space, that's where it's going to become problematic.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think this study um, also shows that, you know very definitively, that if we give give that space, and if we
Time.
time, nature is able to. And this I think has been proven by multiple studies and multiple um, scientists, multiple times, that if there is that space, you know there will be bounce back.
Yep.
As bad as the war, um you know the US war in Iran was, the Strait of Hormuz closing actually was a boon to the the marine life
Wildlife.
in the
Yeah.
Strait of Hormuz, which again,
Yep.
it's
It
not the
shows that
way we should
nature.
achieve that, but shows that nature can. Yeah.
bounce back. And nature is very, very, very resilient. And that is why I was saying that nature doesn't care for us. It will bounce back. It will probably wipe all of us and bounce back, but it is resilient. If we want to survive in nature, then we have to make changes so that we tell nature that, let us just live a few more years on Earth, like don't wipe us out. And because it's very capable. There have been
Yeah,
five
I
or
mean,
six,
climate
six
change.
instinctions.
Yeah,
Yep.
six. Climate change is nature's way of, saying that, it's time that I wipe everything out and then restart.
Yeah, I think also like nature kind of like maybe experiments. Like there were dinosaurs for a lot of years, then it said, "Nah, I don't want the dinosaurs anymore. Let's try bring something new and see." And they brought the humans, and it's like, "Oh God, what did I do now?
I mean,
This is
dinosaurs
not
was
what I planned."
kind of out of our, Earth's control. It was a random event that caused the extinction of dinosaurs.
I mean, it was still nature, right? Like even a comet or
Okay, you're
like an
considering the
asteroid.
entire universe as one, or
Yeah,
just
I
the
mean,
Earth's nature?
no. I mean, nature is, I mean, universe and nature are part of each other,
Okay.
right? Aren't they? I mean, even something like a comet and everything, because it's not really in anyone's hand, then it's all nature. But it could be something where, like, there's, how they say that there's a, like, we're probably part of this video game where we're all programmed to talk and behave in a certain way. So maybe there's like a bigger controller, and then they decide that, oh, like, we like the dinosaurs, so let the dinosaurs be for so many years. No, we don't like the dinosaurs anymore, so bring in the humans. No, we don't like the humans anymore. So let's try something else.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Um, we shall continue to follow these kinds of stories. And speaking of that, I think we have another, not similar, but talking about like forests. We have a story about rainforests and deforestation. Um, not a overly positive one, I must say, but let's talk about it anyway because these are the things we talk about on the show. So this is a discussion from the Manga Bay, where it says World Rainforest Day. Deforestation must be nearly halved to meet the 2030 target, and 2030 is only 4 years away. Just to put that in context. World Rainforest Day highlights tropical forest protection. 2025 saw an encouraging 35% drop in primary forest loss from 2024's record. Great thing. Largely due to Brazil demonstrating effective government actions. And I think we have discussed Brazil and its actions, and the indigenous communities taking matters into their own hands multiple times on this show. However, deforestation remains alarming, 46% higher than a decade ago, with fires recently doubling tree cover destruction. A strong 2026 El Nino threatens Amazon, Indonesia with heat and drought. Despite 2025's reduction, 4.3 million hectares were still destroyed, achieving the 2021 Glasgow pledge to halt deforestation by 2030 requires rates 41% lower than current, underscoring consistent conservation efforts. So, I don't know. The discussion question here for us is how do we ensure 2025's deforestation reduction becomes consistent global progress to save rainforests? Rainforests are this, again, like mangroves, it's a unique kind of ecosystem, and it's a very diverse, very vibrant ecosystem. So, yeah, lots of
Yeah,
species depend on it.
and it's not just the rainforest. I mean, deforestation has to be half of what it was, and I think deforestation is the main contributor anywhere. Like even with the mangroves, it's deforestation that is causing the problem. Even with anywhere else, like wherever, El Nino, La Nina, everything is getting crazy, it's because of the deforestation, it's because of the cover. And even in the kind of cities you've grown up in, now I don't know what kind of city our listeners have grown up in, but the city I grew up in, it used to have like a lot of forest cover. There were hardly any cars, any homes. There was any kind of development. And now, if you see, there are hundreds of sectors in the area. All most of the trees have been cut down. You can feel the dust, you can feel the heat, you can feel the pollution, and this is going across the globe. There is a lot of deforestation just to build more homes and build more roads and build more fancy malls in the name of economic development. And I think that is where we need to curb down our deforestation. We need to reforest more. We need more trees than we need more fancy stuff.
Mm. I'll just share a graph that is there on this particular news article. So the 2018 to 20 was the baseline that was calculated in terms of uh, deforestation, and again, that was a baseline, not ideal, but that was the baseline that was considered. And from that baseline, this blue line shows the pathway to to net zero deforestation 2030 goal, and it's only 4 years away. 2026 data has not yet come in for obvious reasons, but this data is from Global Forest Watch and World Resources Institute. So look at this. Although it's reducing, but it's not nearly as much as it should be. The orange part is how much it should have been, and the red part or the magenta part above that orange is, the full bar is how much it is, and the red part is how much it has gone above the target.
Absolutely. And I think that is the thing. Like, even though it's reduced, we still, it says that there's a 35% drop in primary forest loss from 2024 to 2025, which sounds
Mm,
very positive. But still, deforestation has been 46% higher than a decade ago, which means that even if you drop 35%, it's not enough of a drop. And the kind of stairway or the blue line that Oops has just shown, that was supposed to be like strategic, that every year you kind of drop 10, 10, 10, 10% kind of thing. But in the first few years, we can see that the drop really didn't happen. And in 2025, there has been a drop. But still, I think maybe the 2030 target looks very unachievable, does it not?
mm. Yeah, because again, it's the common example of like, if you just study one day before your exam, you're never going to get through all the course material and everything that you should have gotten through in the entire year. So in 2029, if you say let's reduce everything this year and try to do this, it won't be possible. It won't be possible. I think even now, if we try to do it, I don't know how much of it will be possible, because we have to reduce a lot in order to achieve the 2026 goal. uh, we have to reduce a lot to again achieve the 2027 goal, and so on and so forth.
Uh, yeah, and I mean, the only way we would know this is when the 2026 um, uh, data comes in. But even then, I think because we're way above our goal, uh, I don't know how achievable it is going to be. 2030, maybe they might actually change it to 2035, going by how our deforestation habits are not really coming down.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
So I think this is this applies across the board. Rainforests, as I said, are very unique and important ecosystem. Uh, Rainforests are the types of forests on land that absorb and capture most carbon, and it supports the most number of unique species and unique flora as well. So kind of is our duty. And again, I think all the things that we have talked about very neatly fits into our theme of today, which has become the consumption and the global consumption, and the appetite that humanity has as a whole. So if we don't reduce that, and if we don't have a check on that, then I think all these problems are very uniquely linked, I believe.
True. True. Talking about deforestation and not um, plundering the environment, we have an update from the Greater Nicobar project. And, we've actually had a guest as well, Partha, who spoke about the Nicobar project and how, the clearance are coming in. There's going to be a huge port that would cause like huge environmental damage because it's a very, very environmentally fragile area. So uh, the update, it's not really an update, but it's more like a opposition. It says Great Nicobar Project, Jairam Ramesh, says Environment Minister Yadav's Nicobar defense disappointing. Congress MP Jairam Ramesh called Environmental Minister Bhupender Yadav's latest defense of the 81,000 crore Great Nicobar Island project disappointing and unsatisfactory. Ramesh charged the ministry with extraordinary non transparency for withholding crucial projects and studies on environmental safeguards. This prolonged dispute challenges the project's environmental impact assessments and the secrecy of the High Power Committee HPC report. Yadav, however, cited the National Green Tribunal NGT, which on February 16, 2026 cleared the project. The NGT found no good ground to interfere considering its strategic importance and directed strict compliance with environmental clearance conditions, also accepting the HPC report confidentiality. Significantly, a finance ministry body in August 2024 reportedly noted the 48,862 crore port component lacked strategic objectives. Um, this is one of those projects where it's not required, but they still want to go ahead and do it. Like if you have 81,000 crore rupees, you can use it for other areas and developing other areas and probably like putting into the development of land, of people, of everything else. But why do you want to go plunder an environment which has been pristine, which is undisturbed, which is doing great? Like why do you want to go there and do it? And this is not, I mean, obviously, they're the opposition is opposing because they're in the opposition. I don't know if they care about the environment too. But when I was in my journalism college, and we had a environment teacher, a professor, and he told us that the environment ministry is literally there just to pass and say that, yeah, you want to develop this, okay, we're giving you the clearance, clear these forests. You want to make this port, or you want to clear these forests, okay, we're giving you the clearance. So they're there for the clearance, they're not there for the protection. And that is the sad part.
Yeah, that is a good way to put that. But I think, unfortunately, that is the truth. Now, again, for people who are not people who are unaware, Nicobar, the Andaman and Nicobar systems is island systems that is a union territory of uh, India, and now these systems are very unique systems. Now, no, it has a lot of mangroves, it has a lot of rainforest, it has some of the oldest tribes in India living there. You know, all these different things, and it has a beautiful reef system as well, surrounding those islands. So it's a mixture of land ecosystems, island ecosystems, ecosystems. It's a boiling pot of all these different kinds of ecosystem, and I think the the target here is to build like a military base here, and a shipping port there. So I think it's hugely unnecessary.
It is absolutely unnecessary. There are enough ports already in function. Ports already use a huge area that has been deforested, and it's not like this port is going to make lives very easy, or it's going to be something that is necessary. It's not
I think it
necessary.
won't impact like building a port. I think when you talk about a port, I think it's mainly for goods, so it's not going to impact day to day lives in terms of like direct impact. Um, I think there is a argument from the government about national security. I think that is the argument that any government would give for any kind of development of such a serious nature. It's a national security issue. I don't know how much stock that national security argument holds, but
It doesn't. I mean, if they really cared, then they could just like improve the army base there, but they wouldn't do that. They want to create a port. And I don't even know what kind of national security problems are coming in where you have to go and plunder a pristine environment and build a port. It's just because, again, the businessmen and the politicians, they can get together and they can facilitate such a thing. I'm just glad that the opposition is opposing with so much energy, and I'm hoping
hmm,
that in the future, if the opposition comes into power, they still stand true to this and they don't start passing the bill that, oh yeah, now we are in power, so this project can go ahead. So I hope that doesn't happen. But the kind of videos and the kind of opposition that's happening, it's great. Like Rahul Gandhi has gone to Nicobar, has made a great video about showing how beautiful the areas that they're going to plunder is. There has been a lot of awareness that is being created, and I'm hoping that this project doesn't go ahead. Like there is a lot of like resistance to this project.
I think there are there are very tangible human lives involved here as well. We talk about like the you know the urban humans, but here there there are tribes that live here, in these islands, which are which have little to no contact with the modern or sort of the urban world. So there are actually human lives who don't know anything and don't want to integrate into the urbanist and capitalistic society. They want to remain hunter gatherers, and they want to preserve their way of life. Those lives are also involved, and I think Indian government has given that protection not only to the Sentinelese people but also these. I think there are 18 or 20 tribes that live in this stretch of islands, and I think governments have of India has given that freedom or that rights to those people as well. So those people's lives are also involved. So yeah,
Yeah, I just hope that this doesn't go ahead. It's again one of those things where we would be happy and we would be I don't know, you can be like unrealistically optimistic, but I honestly don't know what's actually going to happen. But I'm just hoping that there is way more opposition and there is more um delay to this project and this just doesn't go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, no, completely agree with that. Um, so the next, we will obviously keep you updated about this story as well, because this seems to be a developing story for quite some time now. So we'll keep you updated on this. Um, the other story that we have been we wanted to talk about is this uh, unique approach that Australian scientists have taken, um, to save turtle nests, raiding of turtle nests by foxes. So the article is titled "Vanilla, Fake Eggs, and Nausea: How Australian Scientists Are Training Foxes to Avoid Turtle Nests." Freshwater turtles in Australia's Murray-Darling Basin are critically endangered, primarily due to introduced red foxes preying on their eggs and nesting females. Researchers at La Trobe University are testing an innovative non lethal conservation method called conditional taste aversion. This technique involves placing chemically treated poultry eggs infused with vanilla scent near potential nesting sites. The goal is to teach foxes to associate the smell and taste of turtle nests with nausea, therefore, deterring them from predation without causing harm. Early trials have shown promising results but variable success, reducing nest predation by 30 to 90% depending on the location. Biologist Ligia Piazzito, Pizzaito, sorry, I'm butchering every time I say it, I'm butchering it more and more. uh, s- I, I'll call her Ligia, and her
Mm.
team working to refine this method, aiming to achieve longer lasting aversion in foxes and reverse the alarming decline of these native turtle species in wildlife management efforts. Two things I noted here. How introduced is a word always attached to these sort of predation problems. And the second one is definitely, someone we could bring over um, for our show as well to speak more on this topic. It seems like an innovative method. Similar how you train dogs um, not to not to poop in your backyard or things like that.
But I think it's very different. A dog is a pet. A fox is not a pet. A fox is wild. A dog is tame. Dogs have been tame for over whatever 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years, whatever it has been with us. But it's not the same. Secondly, if foxes are the problem and they are predating, uh, as long as it's not actually affecting the foxes in some way, maybe this might be a good approach. But the second approach that people can take, and that does happen in a lot of places across the world, is to have people who can, in the nights, always go and patrol these nesting beaches
Mm,
and wherever there are nesting females, so that you can take care and see that the females are not disturbed. Secondly, even in India, in a lot of beaches, what happens is when these nests, when the turtles hatch from these eggs, they tend to go to places where there is more light. So in those cases, a lot of turtles tend to walk towards the city than the sea, even though the sea is supposed to be brighter than the land because there are so many artificial lights that we have. So for this uh, process, they have like a hatchery, a proper hatchery. They have an enclosed space where what they do is they take the entire turtle nest and then they bring that turtle nest and they put it in a protected area so that when the turtles hatch, they can safely release them into the zoo, into the sea. So that is something that can be done along with this approach, because why are you only targeting the foxes? Why are you not looking at actually protecting the turtles as well?
mm. Um, I think it's a unique problem, and the solution seems to be unique as well. But the points that you mentioned are quite valid. I'm just sharing some photos from the article. Again, the first photo I'll be sharing can be somewhat, shows a dead animal. So just a fair warning before I share. Um, so yeah, these are sort of the turtle babies that are kind of died in that region. And these freshwater turtles are there are unique species of freshwater turtles, um, like this young this broad-shelled turtle found by Ligia uh, during fieldwork. So these turtles are um, you know categorized as classified as endangered in Victoria. So again, these are freshwater turtles, very different from the usual very hard shelled and very large saltwater or ocean turtles that we are used to seeing. These are much smaller and much more susceptible to such kinds of predation. And here we can see the red foxes again introduced. This is a camera trap footage of a fox digging up a turtle nest at one of the 8 experimental sites in the Murray River Basin. Foxing a leading threat to freshwater turtles in that region. So this is a camera trap image there. So this is sort of the process that I described, that I read through in the summary as well. So some poultry eggs, it is being infused with some, uh, you know,
Vanilla scent.
yeah, vanilla scent and certain nausea-inducing agents. Again, similar the laced chemical eggs that are being prepared. So some, you know, some photos of that, and yeah, these are sort of the um, techniques that they're using. The scientist is burying actually a quail egg that has been treated with chemical that induces some vomiting, and this is sort of the ecosystem that these turtles survive in, and Yeah, look at this beautiful, serene ecosystem. Turtles are minding their own business. But unfortunately, the foxes are not supposed to be here, but they are here, and the turtle eggs are very easy prey and high source of protein as well. So, yeah, no doubt the foxes go for it.
Hmm. I think the approach is novel. We do not know the long term consequences of such an approach, and if it has any impact on the turtles or the foxes. But obviously, along with this, the turtles need to be protected as well. There has to be like better patrolling and protection measures and releasing measures, because the foxes are obviously not going into the river and catching the turtles. They're predating only the nest. So if they're protecting the nest, then there can be a way of protecting the nest as well. It could be a good approach of like seeing if the foxes can completely just avoid the nests, but because there is variable success, then I mean, I am a strong believer of not really interfering with um, wild animals and treating them like tame animals. So even though this is to protect the turtles, there is a human intervention way of also
Yeah, yeah. That would be great if we can find out, or if we can find this
ideal.
approach where a middle ground where you don't have to sort of induce these kinds of specific things or nausea into the fox to actually save these turtles. Um, but if not, again, we'll try to bring this particular scientists on our show to actually discuss more about this, and sort of the solutions that um, you know the team has come up with, and the effectiveness, and sort of if it is causing some irreparable harm to there. But it is certainly a novel method, certainly better than sort of killing those foxes.
Yep, that
Um,
that I agree. That I agree with. Yep.
so these are the kinds of methods that I personally am a fan of, where um, it's it's sort of in the gray area, ethically maybe to some people, but also it's a it's the biggest or the best win that we can get given all the other parameters. Mm.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll keep you updated. We'll try to get the researcher. Um, I'm going to do a quick short story before Oops does his, I think, update story. Um, so this is from uh, Australia. It says more than 13,000 seal pups die on a remote Australian island amid bird flu outbreak. Over 13,000 southern elephant seal pups have died on Australia's sub-Antarctic Heard Island due to an H5N1 bird flu outbreak. Scientists conducting surveys in late 2025 and early 2026 observed exceptionally high mortality rates, averaging 76% across the island and reaching up to 97% in some areas, a stark increase from the usual below 5% rate. The deadly H1N1 virus has also been confirmed in penguins and petrels on Heard and McDonald Islands. Six of the nine species on Heard Islands have now tested positive for the virus, with mortality still ongoing when scientists departed. These findings highlight the devastating impact of the highly pathogenic avian influenza on vulnerable wildlife populations in remote Antarctic regions. And if our viewers remember, we'd actually done a story on this a couple of maybe months back about how the elephant seal pups in Antarctica are also dying due to the bird flu outbreak because they're consuming the birds that contain this virus. And birds are obviously migratory, so birds that are in these subantarctic islands, they're going and mingling with birds in other areas, and that's how this bird flu is spreading across. And it's really sad because 76 to 97% mortality rate is crazy when it used to be below 5%. Now, we do not know what this would mean for the penguins, the petrels, the other seal pups that are there. And I honestly don't know if there is any kind of solution either for this virus to be eliminated.
Mm, mm. So again, one of those things that we'll have to keep an eye on, and keep you guys updated on. This is a recurring threat that is sort of spreading. So yeah, we'll follow the story as it. Uh,
Yeah, and honestly, if it was like some virus that affected us as much as it affected like the birds and the penguins and the seals and the petrels, probably there would have been a solution by now. There would have been a vaccination. There would have been like testing. There would have been a lot of things, but because it's not affecting the humans so much, um, yeah, it's just on the back burner.
True. There is a good news story, and especially from its context, it's even more of a good news. This is a story from the Guardian. Trump administration reverses decision to scrap ocean monitoring systems. Regular viewers will and listeners will know that we have been following the story of how the Trump administration has decided to scrap some huge ocean monitoring systems, at huge cost. Um, and the decision has been reversed, which is good thing. The Trump administration has reversed its controversial decision to dismantle the $368 million Ocean Observations Initiative (OOI), a critical deep sea observation system. This reversal comes after significant opposition from lawmakers, ocean experts, and a wide range of stakeholders who rely on the OOI's vital data. The National Science Foundation (NSF) announced that on Thursday that it would immediately halt plans for further equipment removal and continue OOI operations, including planned maintenance. The OOI comprises of over 900 instruments that gather crucial data on ocean health, current patterns, current as in ocean currents, climate variability, and marine biodiversity from various global locations, including off the coasts of North Carolina, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and Erminger Sea. The NSF will now collect input from stakeholders and convene the expert panel to assess observational needs and identify a sustainable path for its ocean observing systems, acknowledging the widespread reliance on OOI data for research. Again, great piece of news. We'll keep following the story. Again, there sounds like there are some caveats to this entire ordeal. They might try it again at a future date, but for now, it's a really great news. Mm.
Yeah, and I think this shows that if there's enough opposition, you can actually get the administration to scrap their decisions, which are not great for the environment. So in this case, we were following the story and we were telling you how much there was opposition, how a lot of stakeholders and a lot of ocean experts, lawmakers, everyone was opposing. So similarly, I think if this can be reversed, then the Great Nicobar project and other projects across the world, wherever there is opposition, they can be reversed. Like recently, I read about how Iceland has given permission for whaling again to that
Mm.
one whaling company, and there was a lot of opposition for a few years, so they had actually stalled it. But I think this opposition is what makes the change. So even the grind in Faroe Islands and the whaling in Iceland, the Nicobar project in India, everywhere, every place, the opposition is the only way. Like us, we can make those changes. We can scrap those decisions that plunder the environment by speaking up about it.
Yeah, and especially from such an administration who are hell bent on doing as much damage as possible to the environment, this is especially hopeful piece of news.
Absolutely, yes. Um, yeah, I think that actually kind of brings us to the end of this episode. And as usual, I have my little message for you guys. Um, in regards to gluttony and these mega consumers, what do you think that what is the solution, or what is something that we can be doing at our individual level, so that we can kind of bond together and change their consumption habits, or change the government, or have a petition so that there is better uh, penalizing. Like, what do you think about their consumption habits? What are some of the consumption you have changed? Did you know that red meat and shrimps and everything that you have on your plate has so much environmental impact? Tell us what you think about it, and tell us what changes you're making and what changes you would want to see.
Yeah, and as always, um, please, I know, give this channel a subscribe if you sort of like what you see and like discussing these sorts of ideas. Leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up, all those good things. Follow us on any of the major social media platforms. We are on all of them, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, etc. We go live everywhere all at once, so you'll be able to catch us wherever you follow us. And if you are listening to a recorded version of this podcast, then share this with someone and leave a rating. That really helps with spreading this kind of conversation. We don't want to be imposing or give the one source of truth. We are not that. We know that, but we just try to give a different perspective and open your eyes to certain problems that uh, is faced by our world and the animals that we share this planet with. But other than that, that is it for today, and we'll see you next Sunday, same time, same channel. Have a good one, guys.
Bye bye.